So last year, I started working for TubNet as a QA, which is like a game tester, basically. To be honest, it's pretty cool. You know, I got to play games before they were released. I got to play on the server before it was even released. It was pretty cool. But recently, the server's been dying. The other day, I saw 5 people on the whole server. 5. You can't play any game with 5 people, which is kind of... Oh, there is one game. Also, just because it's for single player, and personally I'm not a big fan of playing single player in a multiplayer server, and it feels kind of pointless. But anyways, I wanted to talk about whether TubNet's really worth it as a gaming server. And by making this video, I possibly could get fined for saying anything bad or mean about the server, but I don't want to get fined, so please don't fire me, and also subscribe, because again, I might or might not. Lightstrike, which is basically CSGO and Valorant, or some mix of the two. Firstly, I'd like to just quickly point out the fact that I've re-recorded this Lightstrike bit about 3,000 times because they keep changing the game and keep doing updates and stuff, which is really good. But it's annoying when I'm trying to make a video on the game. So some of the things I've said before all the updates started coming in is that I really liked the game. The way everything worked was cool. Then they made an update which just ruined the entire money system, and I just completely criticized it. Then they made another update where they fixed that, and they made slight changes to make it actually better. So there's that now, and I'm just sitting here like an absolute idiot trying to re-record this bit like 50 million times. So Lightstrike is actually one of my favorite games. I love the competitiveness. I love the simplicity of the game. Instead of adding lots of complex things like guns and stuff into Minecraft, it's very simple. Just a crossbow or bows and arrows, with a few little modded items like custom swords or custom arrows like a dragon breath arrow or an exploding arrow. Those things are awesome. And the fact that the admins keep updating and changing things and improving the game makes it really fun and awesome, because every step they take is slightly better than the last, which is great, except for the one time they messed up the entire money system. It just really annoyed me. That was kind of like a step backwards, but then they fixed it and made it actually make sense. So now you actually get points. If you die and lose and don't get a single kill, you can still get some money, which is nice. Yo, the only issue I have with Lightstrike is the fact that there's no sense of repeatability, as in, compared to Skywars or Bed Wars, I can play those games for hours on end, just grinding levels, grinding coins, stabbing nerds and orphans, versus here on Lightstrike. Maybe it's due to the small player activity, but it just feels really dry after a while. Maybe you can play 1 or 2 games, 3, 4 maybe, and then it just feels boring after a while. It's like, oh, that sense of repeatability where you can play for hours isn't there on Lightstrike. Personally, I find it more fun when you're in calls with people, talking to everyone. Playing with a group of people that you know or can talk to is so much more fun than playing with randos who just rush the other team to kill them for coins and not actually want to plant the bomb and get XP, because they're... That's why. One suggestion I would like to suggest for Lightstrike is that they add kits, sort of like what MCC Island has in BattleBox. I figured if that was there in Lightstrike as a different mode, it would make the game a lot more interesting. I won't lie. Crystal Rush, the ice cream. My main issue with Crystal Rush is the name. Crystal Rush. Sounds like an ice cream. I tell my friends, guys, want to play some Crystal Rush? They're like, you want to play with ice cream? What are you, 5? And then I have to explain to them, oh, I meant, you know, this modded Minecraft Bed Wars in the new version. Then they're like, huh? What are you talking about? Versus if I use the word Crystal Wars. Now that sounds that sounds really interesting. Like, okay, we're doing Crystal Wars. We're going to stab people. We're going to kill each other. We're going to fight to the death. That, to me, that just sounds more interesting. The only other issues I have with Crystal Rush is, firstly, the GUI. They actually added a new bit where it's a lot more simpler, but it doesn't save. So every time I click the GUI guy, I have to go to the top right and click to go to the simpler version, because I prefer that more than the default one. If they can fix that just by like having an ability to save and customize that bit, that would be so cool. It's what Bed Wars has. It has a completely cool set of strategy and just also makes it more customizable to the player. Another issue there is with Crystal Wars, Crystal Rush. The game has added a complete overhaul on default vanilla items. When I mean overhaul, I mean like not textures, but naming and functionality. For example, a fireball. You know, a traditional Minecraft Bed Wars fireball. Oh, it's like a fire charge. You throw it and the fire thing. Guess what it's called in here? A fire orb. I don't understand what's the obsession with naming things with orbs and totems. I'm like, hang on a second, is a fire orb different than a fireball, for example? There's also a thing called winged orb and boost orbs and stuff like that. The boost orb, from my experience of using it, feels so weird. I don't know how to use it properly. Winged orb, that's a bit more self-explanatory. It's basically just an elytra, but when you use it, it launches you up into the air. You equip the elytra, bam. But my main issue with all these new items and new names is just it's a bit over complex and can be overwhelming to the player because they have to learn a completely new set of items and stuff like that to actually play the game. I just feel if things were simpler and a lot of add-ons and stuff were removed, it would make it more simpler. Because there's a lot of items in here that I feel are completely pointless and are over the top. But then again, if you're a professional Crystal Rush player that knows every single item, you'll probably use every single item. Versus the average noob who wouldn't buy a boost orb because they don't understand what it does. And when they try to use it, it backfires completely. I would have actually liked to see shields in Crystal Rush, because that would be interesting. Imagine playing Bed Wars with shields. How would that work? Or crossbows. We don't have crossbows yet, but we have normal bows. There's a lot of simple things I feel Crystal Rush could add, but it's not being added. And all these other totems and orbs are being added instead. Also, just nobody plays this game as well. Crystal Rush has no appeal as well. I think maybe it's also due to the fact that it's a bit overwhelming and a bit complicated for a noob or a normie. Spacebound. So Spacebound is basically like... Actually, I can't say what it's like, but the rumor is that it's like Hypixel Skyblock, but with a spacey theme to it. Who knows what it could be. I've had the pleasure of actually playing a little bit of it. It is going to be a really fun game, but in my personal opinion, they should not have announced it at all. If the game was not ready to like be played, they should have not announced it at all. Battle Royale. Okay, the same thing happened with Battle Royale that happened with Light Strike, as in I recorded this bit and then they made updates to the game, which made all my points invalid. The most recent update is now, instead of spawning in a circle like traditional Hunger Games or Blitz, you now pull a Fortnite and spawn in a battle bus and you have to drop down and fly to wherever you want. Which personally, not a big fan of, but the reason that they've changed it is because normally when you spawn around, everyone would run to the middle and the chest would be there, of course. What most people do is that if they have priority pickup, they go break all the chests, walk around and pick up everyone's items. So now you have the super OP dude and me with a wooden sword. The way they decided to fix that is by, oh, let's make everyone spawn in on a battle bus. Bruh. The main reason, again, is because they don't want to change the chest system, as in they like the fact that when you hit the chest, everything in the chest falls. Or if you quickly open and close the chest, everything in the chest falls. I personally think that they should do what MCC Island Sky Battle does, where if the chest is empty, it disappears. But if there's stuff in the chest, it's still there. It feels a lot more simpler. Again, this is just my personal preference and opinion, so does it really matter? Yes, it does. However, Battle Royale does have a really cool thing that not many other Battle Royale style games have, except Fortnite, which is building. Like, building in this is really interesting. It's really cool. The fact you have Battle Royale in Minecraft and you can build as well. Dang, what is this? Minecraft Mondays? Yo, we back. We back. They did nerf this slightly, which I think was a great nerf. Instead of just carrying 4 stacks of blocks, you can only hold 1 stack in your inventory at a time. So you don't have people doing a Fortnite and building entirely giant cities in 5 seconds. Instead, you have to really smartly and conservatively use and strategically use your blocks in a really wise manner. I'm just saying the word wise in just as many different synonyms as possible. This adds a whole new different strategy to the game, because now if you want to build or try to block glitch people, you will eventually run out of blocks because you can't hold that many at a time, and then you have to go search for blocks. So the way you use your blocks has to be used strategically. I also love the fact that they added custom items into this game. For example, a cloud totem to help prevent fall damage because there's a lot of mountains around the place. A grappling hook, really cool. Bridge orb, really, really cool. And yeah, that's about all the custom items. But yeah, and the different tier chests. Ooh, I like that. Okay, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Really randomizes the chests as well. Very, very cool. So overall, TubNet, it's a pretty good server, but a large amount of TubNet's player base comes from Tubbo's community, and I really wish the appeal to the large Minecraft community was there, but sadly it's not there yet. And hopefully it is in the future, because this server could be one of the best servers and has the potential of competing with Hypixel. Is TubNet really worth it? I'd say so, yeah. If you have a group of friends and you don't want to play Bed Wars or Sky Wars because there's too many tryhards and too many people trying to be Technoblade, then come over to TubNet, where nobody really plays most games anyways, except Light Strike and Battle Royale, but Light Strike not as much, but Battle Royale, yes. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out this other video where I talk about why Junkie Janker quit, unless you have anything better to do. Yeah, that's what I thought. Click on it and subscribe.